Hi, family. I trust you are good. And if not, don't worry. God's got you. Keep pushing. Thank you so much for loving my page, for loving the content. And I am getting more and more excited to be doing this because of you. And I'm really grateful. And today it's dairy or milk and milk products. That's really what we mean. Not diary like a diary book, dairy. Okay. What we mean by milk and milk products, obviously, is goat milk, cow's milk, also human milk and their products. Oftentimes, we just focus on the animal milk and forget that human milk is actually in this category as well. And I'll talk about that later on today. And so, milk and its products like cheese, yogurt, sour milk are all in this category. You may be asking yourselves, why this group? Last week we were talking about fish, insects, and animal source foods. And now all of a sudden we have dairy. Isn't it an animal source foods? Trust me, that's the question I asked my superiors when we're coming up with these food groups. And I said, it doesn't make sense. Why can't we have 5 food groups so that we have fish, insects, and animal source foods, which include dairy? The answer I was given is that, look, we are also looking at the needs. Remember earlier on in my introductory video, I did mention that different countries choose different ways of categorizing their food groups based on the need. What does the population need? That's what we need to promote. And for Zambia, it's been realized that over 90% of the Zambian population is deficient of calcium, meaning 90% of us do not have enough calcium. That probably includes me sitting here and talking to you about consuming more milk and milk products. I'm probably deficient in calcium. So as a country, we said in order to get the population to have a lot more calcium so that in the next survey to come, we can at least have only 20% or less, because calcium is an important nutrient in the body. We all know from school, calcium, strong bones, strong teeth, right? Which is good. But also calcium helps in the regulation of your blood pressure. We are beginning to see more and more Zambians suffering from high blood pressure. And one reason is also because of inadequate amounts of calcium. And also we are beginning to see a lot of our elderly, not only the elderly, but even the fairly young adults. We're talking probably 45, 50, 60, having deficiencies in calcium or poor bones, basically. Your body will never compromise on your blood levels of calcium. So if, let's say, it has to be, for the sake of argument, right, like at 50. So when your blood level calcium drops to, let's say, 49, it draws from your bones. So your bones have to send calcium to your bloodstream to push it back to 50. If it drops to 45, it's the same bones that have to push calcium into your blood to bring it up to 50. It can never go above or below 50. I'm using 50 really just to help you understand. But really, that's what it is. Blood levels of calcium never drop. So what suffers then is the bones. So you find that the bones start to have holes in them because calcium keeps leaking out, but there is no calcium coming in to replace those leaks. What happens now is over the years, your bones become frail, and any small injury, you just twist your ankle when you are coming down the stairs, or you kick the ball and you feel and that is it. For that to heal, it takes forever. I know a number of people in their 50s, even as young as 40-something, who have had an injury and they've never recovered fully. I also have a knee injury that I had some time back, which I feel I've recovered from, but not fully. It flares up from time to time. The older I grow, I'm also beginning to feel the pain. I actually need to go to the hospital. Anyway, but yeah. So the bones are actually affected that way. Look at a young child. A young child would play, fall off the tree, go to the hospital, they put a chitute, and then a few weeks down the line, the boy or the girl is as good as new. But with adults, it's a different story. Any small injury is a problem. So you want to keep your bones at top-notch condition. And like I said, also because calcium affects your blood pressure. 20% of Zambians have high blood pressure, and these are only the reported cases. Personally, I believe it's more than 20%. But at least from the data that is available from the STEP survey that was conducted by the Ministry of Health, 20% of the Zambian population is hypertensive. It could also be because of calcium deficiency, of course, among other reasons, excessive intake of salt, obesity, and so forth, but also calcium plays a role. So let's consider improving our calcium intake, and what better way of doing it but consuming milk and milk products. Now, here is why milk and milk products are the best source of calcium. First of all, calcium is abundant in milk. And not only is it abundant in milk, it is easily accessed by the body. There are a number of plant foods that have calcium. But to access that calcium, to make it enter the body and be used the way it's supposed to be used, it's a battle because the plant foods have the calcium bound or attached to very complicated characters or substances that just don't want to let go of that calcium. The amount of calcium available to be absorbed is higher in milk than in plant foods. You and I as adults need about 1,200 milligrams of calcium per day. Just 1 cup of milk gives you 300 milligrams of calcium. And 2 cups of milk will therefore give you got it, 600 milligrams of calcium. So basically you can meet half your needs with a recommended calcium intake of 1 to 2 cups per day. Then the remaining 600 milligrams can then be picked from other foods. Now you may say, milk is expensive. Come on, am I supposed to eat all these 5 food groups and then have milk again? It's hard on the budget. Well, it's not that you absolutely have to consume milk. As long as you're consuming other foods that are equally abundant in calcium and can release the calcium in your body, well and good. And these foods are kapenta. You know why kapenta? Because you are eating the kapenta together with the bones. So if you can guarantee me that, well, Belinda, I do not like milk, but I would like to get calcium from other foods. If you can guarantee me that the kapenta, chisense, sardines will be a major part of your diet, you probably eat foods from these groups every day, then you are well and good. If you're also going to cook your dry fish, you cook it to the point where the bones are soft, the calcium leaks out of the bones and is in the gravy, and you can chew the bones and eat them. That's well and good, because then you're guaranteed that you're getting the calcium that you need, at least to meet half or more than half the calcium you need per day. Another food that is high in calcium are lentils. I know our Indian counterparts enjoy lentils. Lentils are it's a legume, very high in calcium, actually comparative to the calcium in milk. So if you can also include lentils in your diet, well and good. But if not, try to then include a cup or 2 of milk per day so that you boost your calcium intake. 90% of us not having calcium is heavy on our health sector. The medication to actually relieve arthritis and things like that is not cheap, hey? Let's be honest. So let's take care of our bones and ensure that we consume enough calcium. So what about human milk? Remember I said human milk is also an important part of this group. And now I'm looking or thinking about our little ones at home. If you are a new mom or a new parent, congratulations. You're probably breastfeeding and maybe even struggling to breastfeed, especially if you're a new mom. But don't despair, because you are doing a good job. Your baby needs that milk. From 0 to 6 months, nothing else should be given to your baby but milk. Nothing else. No water, no juice. So dear grandmother who's saying the baby is crying too much, malamule karipa, sokumpera ko to orange juice. No, please. Nothing else should be given. The body will open up on its own. The baby is crying because growth is a process. Growth is painful. We know that. The baby is just is getting used to this environment. Don't rush it. Allow the baby to cry. Put the baby to the breast. Don't say it's too hot. Let me give the baby water. I know the weather is hot, but milk can quench that thirst. Don't put yourself in place of the baby, especially under 6 months. The diet is different from yours. So don't say, because I'm thirsty, the baby is crying because she needs a cold glass of water with some ice in it. No, not even room temperature water, just breast milk. You know why? Because in the first 10 minutes of breastfeeding, what comes out is just water, just to quench the baby's thirst. Then after 10 minutes, then the milk becomes thick and very fatty, good for the baby's growth and development. Okay, so you need to attach your baby to the breast for at least 20 minutes. I see mothers, even when I'm on the bus, for example, you see this poor mother having the baby on one breast, maybe for a good 2 minutes. Mwana adida adida adida. Change to the other breast. 2 minutes. Mwana adida adida. Iwana iweni shani. You know? And the baby now keeps being switched from one breast to another. What are they getting? Only water. Maybe the baby really is hungry. All they are getting is watery milk because that's how God designed it. So hold the baby to the breast for at least 20 minutes. One breast, 20 minutes. If the baby is still hungry after that 20 minutes, then you can switch to the other. And then you start again from one. You literally see your baby fall off the breast and just sleep because it is that satisfying. After 6 months, you start by giving milk. That's the stage that we call now complementary feeding, meaning you are complementing the breast. You are not taking away the breast milk completely. You are complementing it. A long time we used to call it weaning. Not anymore, because weaning is where you cut the baby off the milk suddenly. But what we want is a gradual process of detaching the baby from the milk. And so start with milk first, breastfeed the baby. Then after you've breastfed, the way I've explained it, then you can give additional foods. And that is family foods, nothing special, guys. Don't go around looking for expensive stuff that is loaded with preservatives, salt and sugar and whatnot. Keep it simple. The same soup we are beans, banganda. Give the baby after you've breastfed. This is from the period 6 to 8 months. After you've breastfed the baby, then you start giving additional foods. After 8 months, that is now 9 months, somewhere there, this baby is big and strong. You can now start giving them kapenta, even letting them eat on their own. Vadiako tu kapenta no nakabwadi, or eggs and shima, or whatever that you eat as a family. You just crush it, obviously, if the texture is not appropriate, and then you can give it to the child, and then breast milk then becomes a snack. Human milk is different from cow's milk. I do not care how these formula milks are designed, others claim to be formulated to meet the standards of human milk. It's still cow's milk. God has just made it that special. Mother's milk is the best. So cow's milk then becomes secondary, and preferably only after 2 years. So between 0 and 2 years, focus on breast milk. Even when you're going to add milk to porridge, get your breast milk. Squeeze it out and add it to the porridge. You may ask, but why? Why isn't cow's milk? Well, cow's milk is meant for the calf. Our stomachs are different. What a cow can digest or a calf can digest is not what a human baby can digest. Cow's milk contains a lot of a type of protein called casein, and casein is not easy for the human baby to digest. Our human milk has more of what we call whey protein, and that's why it looks watery, Fidia, because it contains a very watery kind of protein, which is what the humans need. You've probably heard of lactose intolerance. That's because some people do not produce enough of the enzyme called lactase to break down the milk. And so that becomes difficult. So now what more when you give them casein, which is actually very difficult to digest. So stick to human milk if you can. Of course, we do have situations or special cases where cow's milk is to be given, but it should not be the norm. It should not be where the mother just decides, I just do not want my baby to grow the way you are saying the baby should grow. Let's not make it about us. Let's also make it about the baby. Breastfeeding is not easy. I agree with you. You have to be committed to it. You need support. Family, employers out there, let us support our breastfeeding mothers. Even our maids, people in informal employment, can we support them? If you have a maid who has just delivered, allow her to come home to work with her baby so that the baby also gets breast milk, or encourage her to express. There is a way that you can actually remove breast milk and store it in a cup. It can stay at room temperature for about 5 hours, 3 to 5 hours, room temperature. And in the fridge, it can go even up to 3 days. So if I express breast milk today and then I need to rush Nimbikuchidiro somewhere, I'll sleep there, at least the baby has milk expressed, right? And you need to start this much earlier. While the baby is still young, in the first month when you are probably on maternity leave, start expressing as well. and start freezing. You can actually freeze for up to 3 months so that you also have time to do other things. But do not deprive your baby of what they need. Science has it that breastfed babies do not have allergens. Breastfed babies are also not sickly. Trust me, those who have breastfed their babies till 6 months, they'll tell you after they left the hospital after delivering, they've probably never gone back, except for under 5. After they've weighed the baby, okay, goodbye, and that's it. But when a child is not breastfed, when you want to introduce porridge, you want to introduce whatever, the chances of the child having diarrheal diseases are much higher. Poor immunity, and therefore things like pneumonia, a small thing like malaria, it just, knocks them down. And also allergens. You find that as they grow up, they become allergic to peanuts, allergic to this. They don't eat fish. If it's fish, it has to be dry fish, not fresh fish. Let's avoid that by breastfeeding. I hope you learned 1 or 2 things. I will see you later. Retweet, subscribe.